speaking of somebody that's been speaking nonsense, at least since the 2020 campaign, we have allegations here that Jill Biden, Joe Biden's wife, was feeding Biden pills during the 2020 campaign. This comes from Tucker Carlson. This is a big claim. I've said something very similar, but it was just kind of like, I didn't have any actual proof of it. It was more of like, I have a feeling the guy was on some Adderall. He was on something, Ritalin. I mean, this guy had to be taking something during the 2020 election, because we would see him sometimes. I mean, he looked out there. He just looked out there. And I'll show a clip right now. I will prove it to you. Just look into the president's eyes as he tries to figure this out.
We're going to accommodate them. We're going to seize their yachts, their luxury homes, and other ill-begotten gains of Putin's kleptocracy. Kleptocracy and the guys who are the kleptocracies.
Does he look like he's all there? I don't think so. Joe Biden hasn't been with us for a long, long time. His brain's in a galaxy far, far away, folks. I mean, that's really probably what the James Webb telescope's for. Not really looking for planets or galaxies or stars or anything like that. It's just to look for Joe Biden's conscience. Okay. In hopes of getting it back, that maybe we could fix a little bit of something here in America. But hell, even if he did get it back, who knows? I doubt anything would change. So an addled Joe Biden had to be heavily medicated in pill popping sessions supervised by his wife during the 2020 presidential campaign. This comes from an explosive report by Tucker Carlson on Fox News.
Had noted at all that this guy couldn't speak in complete sentences, couldn't convey coherent ideas. Nobody had ever mentioned that. And of course, anyone in Washington knew Joe Biden. He'd been there since 1972, and basically most people kind of liked him. He was a friendly guy. This was not the Joe Biden anyone who knew Joe Biden had seen before. He completely changed. This was clearly cognitive decline. This was dementia, obviously. So we drew a conclusion that now sounds ridiculous, but it seemed logical at the time. This guy can't be the Democratic nominee. He can barely speak. How did he manage to get through the campaign? Well, it turned out, we learned later, his staff, supervised by Dr. Jill, his wife, was giving him pills before every public appearance, checking the time and at a certain hour giving him a dose of something. Now, that's not a guess. We're not making that up. We've spoken directly to someone who was there and saw it happen multiple times. Now, before taking the medication, this person said, Biden was, quote, like a small child. You could not communicate with him.
The president, whose cognitive abilities have increasingly come under question amid a seemingly endless series of gaffes and micromanaging by his White House handlers, needed unspecified meds to function on the trail. This came from Carlson on Friday night going into the weekend. Now, I've done multiple shorts and compiled video of Joe Biden's gaffes and his micromanaging done by his White House aides. And it is so cringy, hard to watch, and also sad all at the freaking same time. And sometimes it's even funny, but there is clearly cognitive decline going on with this guy. And it's happening pretty rapidly. I mean, hell, you just saw a clip there, folks, where he's just off in space. He don't know where the hell he's at. The cable news host said then candidate was dosed before speeches, debates, and other appearances. These reports are coming out saying that basically before any time he went out in the public or went on television or anything where he had to speak, he was being dosed with something by his wife watching him, amongst others. And I believe it. That's the thing. I don't really need much evidence to believe it. That's the sad thing of it all. And Tucker Carlson has basically a source, an anonymous source, that said that they were there and witnessed this. Here's my problem with that, is that's very CNN of to do, right? Of Tucker Carlson to do, is when you get one anonymous source, then we roll with it. And it turns out that source is basically crap. I want to be able to hear and see multiple sources and eyewitnesses and credible ones in terms of what happened. Then I'm more likely to believe it. If I see video or something substantive other than Tucker Carlson saying, hey, I got somebody that was willing to tell me they were there and they saw it. I mean, I need a little bit more. This is what Tucker had to say. How did he manage to get through the campaign? Well, it turned out, we learned later, his staff, supervised by Jill Biden, his wife, was given his pills before every public appearance, checking the time and a certain hour, giving him a dose of something. Now, it's not a guess. We're not making it up. We've spoken directly to someone who was there and saw it happen multiple times. Now, again, I don't doubt it. I would just like more evidence of it. While incumbent President Donald Trump crisscrossed the nation, giving rallies in arenas and stadiums. Biden kept such a low profile that he was mocked as hiding Biden. His staff often called a lid on his schedule, meaning he was done for the day before noon. Yet the strategy worked. He won the election. He just hid in the basement. And I think that Donald Trump could have won the election if he would have done something very similar, in the sense of just didn't say knucklehead things. Again, I voted for Trump. If Trump runs in 2024, I'll vote for him again. I love Trump. He's huge. He's my favorite. I love him. But just because you love somebody doesn't mean that you can't criticize them. And it's good criticism, positive criticism, that if he were to do it, he would be liked by a lot more Americans, a lot more people on the other side, like independents. So without the medication, which Carlson said continues to this day, Biden was confused and childlike. It's funny that he uses that word childlike, because there are clips that I've seen while trying to compile these compilations where he does act like a kid. Like the things that he says in interviews, they're not necessarily gaffes, right? He's not fumbling through his words. He's not like lost in space trying to figure out where the hell he's at. But he's acting like a kid. Like the things that he says is going, that's not something that an elderly man would say. Hell, even a middle-aged man would say. That's something like a child would say. So it's very interesting to me that he's using this word childlike. Now, before taking the medications, this person said Biden was, quote, like a small child. You could not communicate with him. He changed completely because he was on drugs, and he clearly still is on drugs. Carlson said, quoting an unnamed source, someone's pushing. We don't know what the drugs are. We should know. Yeah, I mean, I want him to take a cognitive test, as does everybody. I mean, Donald Trump has been pushing for this since back in 2020 and before. A lot of people have been talking about this. Barack Obama's own physician, Texas Republican Representative Ronnie Jackson, who served under Obama and the Trump administration, raised alarms himself about what he considers to be Biden's declining mental state. In 2020, he called on Biden to take a cognitive test. And earlier this month revealed that former President Barack Obama had sent him a scathing email for publicly calling out Biden's alleged dementia. Quote, all I know is that he's got age-related cognitive decline, right? He is not mentally fit right now, Jackson said on a podcast. He's 78 years old, and you could see it. You don't need to be a physician to look at him and take a look at his behavior and some other stuff. Just the way he shuffles away, stares off into space. It's almost as if that's exactly what I said. Yes. How he shuffles, to give you a perspective, the White House, there was a report that came out not too long ago, and I actually reported on it myself. They're literally worried about him tripping over a wire and dying. Like a cord, like a camera cord, or just something laying across the floor, because of the way he shuffles, and that he's not all there, that he's just aimlessly walking around the White House and not knowing what the hell is going on at all. And they're literally fearful that he's going to fall, break his hip, shatter his pelvis, hit his temple, hit his trachea. They're literally fearful of it, as am I. Look, he's the president. We need somebody to run the country. Granted, is he really running the country? He's a puppet. I want to know who's pulling the strings here. But you understand what I'm really trying to get at in terms of, I don't want to see him die. Look, he's a human being. He has a family, but he should not be president. And the Democrats, and I'm fully aware now, 81, 82 million people supposedly voted for this guy. I said 70 million people. I was trying to just be conservative with the numbers. You guys wanted me to be exact. 81, 82, sure, whatever the hell. I still can't believe that Democrats voted for this guy. 92% of Democrats, if he were to run against Trump, would still vote for this guy. This is how insane that party is. And we're all the crazies, right? We're the evils, we're the nutsos, the conservative Republicans. 92% are so encompassed with Trump derangement syndrome that they would literally rather have a guy that's not there, clearly not there, slurring through his words, fighting with his teleprompter, can't read lines, says repeat the line, might trip over a cord, gets chauffeured by his Secret Service, doesn't follow directions to get to his own office, doesn't know his wife's name, forgets that he's running for president, forget that he is president, thinks Kamala Harris is president, forgets his generals' names. The guy literally doesn't know what state he's in at times when he's talking to people. They're willing to do that. They're willing to put our country in jeopardy because they don't like Donald Trump that much. When Donald Trump said knucklehead things, but he did great things. Joe Biden says knucklehead things and does knucklehead things. Vast difference. Donald Trump wins in my book. Quote, I don't know what the job entails, both physically and mentally, and how demanding it is. And I could tell you right now, I'm 100% sure that Joe Biden is incapable of doing that job, the doctor added. So there you have it. Barack Obama's physician, Donald Trump's physician, looks at Joe Biden and goes, hell, that guy ain't all there. There's no way he's able to do the job. Like I said, I want to know who's pulling the strings, because you got the Democrats running this country into the ground. Their agenda is running this country into the ground. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.